What is going on, Chicago Bears fans? You can go where you want to. You can leave your friends behind because your friends don't dance. And if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine. So today we're talking about the safety dance, and that is JaQuan Brisker and Kevin Byard, two of the fastest and strongest safeties in the NFL. And does that make the Chicago Bears the best group of safeties in the league? Speaking of safeties, Jonathan Owens will be away at the Olympics and has been given permission by the Chicago Bears team to take that time off uh, in order to support his wife, who will be appearing in the Olympics coming up in just a short while. So let's talk about this. The Chicago Bears spent most of the 2024 season focused on improving the offense. There were a few pieces that kind of got thrown into the mix. But generally speaking, most of the focus, the predominant effort and everything was fixing the offense so that Caleb Williams had all of the tools that he needed in order to be successful. In fact, not only did they provide him with plenty of tools, but if ESPN is any indication, they also are super bullish on the offensive line going into the 2024 season. Most people don't believe that the Bears improved on their defense, though. But at best, the defense is supposed to be as good as it was last year. However, at the end of the season, this defense was doing a fantastic job, except for that final game where they just couldn't seem to get at Jordan Love. Now, does that mean that that will happen again? No. Does it mean that maybe they didn't scheme properly? I mean, probably. We'll see what happens with this. But former Bears executive Greg Gabriel thinks that a minor adjustment to this lineup has significantly made the Chicago Bears a better team, and it involves replacing Eddie Jackson with Kevin Byard. On the surface, it seems like nothing more than a swap of similar players, but that is not the case, because here's what's happening now. Previously, the Bears lineup had free and strong safeties. With Byard and Brisker paired together, the Bears have the fastest set of safeties in the league. Both were timed at 4.46 or better when they came out of college, which makes them, without question, the most physical set of safeties, but also the fastest set of safeties in the league. What will help the safeties this year is that the Bears have changed how the safeties line up. Instead of a free safety and a strong safety, the Bears safeties are just going to line up left and right. In essence, both are going to be playing free safety and strong safety, depending on the offensive formation. In the Parcells years with the New York Giants, this was how the safeties were played, being left and right instead of strong and free. It can cause confusion for the offense as to what the coverage is, and that helps the defense to know to be more disguised, if you will. So this is a big move over here. Brisker, of course, was the strong safety last year, playing most of his snaps around the line of scrimmage. Jackson was the free safety who was responsible for handling coverage. Now, because both of these guys are big, strong, fast, and athletic, either one of them is going to be able to drop into coverage, and the other one is going to be able to patrol the line. So that's what you're looking for. And now you've added another wrinkle into the system for the Chicago Bears. Now, if this is the case, and if it plays out to its best advantage, then the Chicago Bears have another tool in their arsenal to become a much better team, knowing that it could be JaQuan Brisker, it could be Kevin Byard at the line, knowing that they can easily drop into coverage. There's things about this that creates a little bit more confusion amongst the offense. It's going to enable you to disguise your defenses in a bunch of different ways that you previously could not do it. A lot of it was more straightforward. Now you've got the added advantage here of different ways to disguise. So let's move on. That's your man, JaQuan Brisker. That's your man, Kevin Byard. This should be a fantastic year for those two guys. I'm expecting to see big things. And look, when we talk about big things, there's one guy in this league that we don't expect big things from as a Chicago Bear. But here is the thing. One of the beat writers for the Chicago Bears said that the person that impressed them the most in minicamp was this guy right here. Does anybody know what fumble Ruski this is? That is Vas Jones Jr. In the time between now and the start of training camp, many people are reviewing rosters across the NFL and throwing different angles against the wall to see what sticks. That is really the only way to explain the player that Courtney Cronin of ESPN chose for the Chicago Bears, player that stood out the most during these mini camps. No one benefited from the changes to the kickoff more than the Bears' 2022 third-round pick, Vas Jones Jr., who struggled to carve out a role during his first two seasons. He will have it. It will have to be the team's best return to secure a spot on a crowded wide receiver depth chart, but he did a solid head start given his impact on special teams. He's entering his third season in the NFL, but if we're being honest, he's on borrowed time with the Bears. Jones should have been cut prior to the start of the 23 season, but that would have been an extremely premature decision on a player who was drafted in the third round of the previous year's draft. But a lot of people are saying that he's on basically his last lifeline with the Chicago Bears. However, he did appear to show out quite a bit in this mandatory minicamp just recently. It's fair to say that Jones should be given an opportunity to prove his value with the Bears with the new kickoff rules, but it's also important to remember that he has proven his only value to the Bears has been as a return specialist. So remember, we talked about this on Friday. Rome Odunze could possibly become that guy, or maybe because of the change in the dynamic of the way that they're doing it, maybe they're going to give Roschon Johnson an opportunity, or Khalil Herbert an opportunity for kickoffs. That, it's time to think outside of the box with the new kickoff protocols being the way that they are, and with the teams being faced up a little closer to the receiving team. So things have changed dramatically. And when we see this thing happen and we start to see this play out, we're going to rapidly get an idea. Some of these guys on the cutting edge are going to say, look, the way that we're doing this does not work. The way that we're doing this has to be improved. Vas Jones Jr. could still be on his way out, or this could be the move that sets off his career. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. By the way, hit the like button on your way in if you haven't already. So also up, here is a stunning assessment given by Pro Football Focus. Pro Football Focus today has graded the Chicago Bears offensive line as the 11th best in the league and ranked it ahead of both Green Bay and Minnesota. In their rating of the offensive lines posted today, Zoltan Boudet discounts the fact that they had problems against Green Bay's offensive line in the season finale. It's the same Packers line that helped fuel the late season streak of 3 straight wins to put Green Bay in the playoffs. The Bears' offensive line, as it got healthy, was one of the top units in the NFL towards the second half of the 23 season. And what he says is injury problems have hurt the Bears' development on the offensive line for 2 seasons. They had 18 in-season switches in their starting lineup in both of those seasons, 19 counting a switch from the changeover of the 2021 line to the 2022 line. Last year, left tackle Braxton Jones missed 6 games. Tevin Jenkins missed the season's first 4 games. At the same time, Nate Davis missed 2 games due to an illness and the passing of his mother, and then 4 games later in the season with an ankle injury. Lucas Patrick had knee and ankle issues and a concussion. Darnell Wright played through a painful shoulder injury. Cody Whitehair was benched during the season. There were plenty of bad things that were happening on this team that were not really resonating very well. But here's what we do have now. Ryan Bates is an every down guy. Coleman Shelton is an every down guy. Kirana Magaji looks the part. We'll see how he comes along, but he's also been a pretty he did have a quad injury going into it, but he's been a stalwart for Penn State for a while. So Doug Kramer, there's more. There's a lot to like about the Bears offensive line going into this season. Right now, it looks like what I have up on the screen is going to be the way that we line up, with Braxton Jones and Tevin Jenkins holding down the left side of the line, Nate Davis and Darnell Wright holding down the right side of the line, and then Ryan Bates coming in at center. Now, if you remember, we did this a while back, and what I said at that time was I think Coleman Shelton might be that guy at center. Well, now it makes sense that maybe, just maybe, we're going to be looking at Nate Davis being swapped for one of these 2 guys, Coleman Shelton or Ryan Bates, and then the other one taking that center position. So we may see a little bit of change up in this line. It seems settled, and it seems like the Bears are going to be forced into holding on to Nate Davis because they cannot financially, it would be irresponsible to release him. You're going to have to go with him and just take whatever he gives you. If you're going to make any kind of change, it's going to have to be after the end of this year. Maybe, just maybe, he shows up. Maybe, just maybe, he's one of those guys. And, maybe he just doesn't like to practice. Maybe he's just one of those people. As long as he shows up in the games, that's what's going to matter the most, right? So if that's the case, we're fine. If that's not the case, then Coleman Shelton or Ryan Bates takes over that right guard position, and Nate Davis just spends $12 million worth of sitting on the bench waiting for that next opportunity with that next team. That might be the way this ends up going. And the fact that they got an offensive line replacement or replacements at a pretty inexpensive sort of rate could make a big difference. And by the way, what if Kiran Amagaji starts to come along? What if we really start to get him dialed in? And what if he looks really good in comparison to Braxton Jones? Does Braxton Jones move into the interior? Does Nate Davis sit? And does Braxton Jones come in and start to learn that right guard position? I don't know how this is going to play out. But I do know that the Bears are, even with some musical chairs, if you will, on the offensive line, they are a better team now than they were last year at the same time going into that 2023 season. I feel a lot better about the 2024 team, the direction, the level of coaching, everything about this team reeks of being much improved overall. And then finally, the last piece to this equation, there is a critic of the Chicago Bears, and that critic is Jason Leeser from the Chicago Sun-Times. He's a consistent critic of the Chicago Bears. He's not liked a lot of the moves that they've made. He's been, complaining quite a bit about what's going on in Chicago. But the one person that he's just been super impressed by, finally, and the one that he says looks like an absolute star already on the field, is Rome Odunze. So Jason says this. He says that though a consistent critic of the Bears' efforts over the past few years, he admitted a level of intrigue over Odunze's arrival. He believes that if he hadn't walked into a locker room that already had DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, there is a plausible scenario where Odunze puts together a stellar rookie season in the same category of a Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. He is that talented, and he broke this down and said, if he had come in and didn't have these two guys, you'd say he's going to be Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. As it is right now, he says that he just looks the part of a real star. People talk about the quarterback, but they don't mention how the Bears' track record at receiver is also pretty ugly. You take out Allen Robinson, who seems to have fallen apart when he got here. Alshon Jeffrey, maybe you can make an argument. He was tough as nails, but in the Super Bowl era, excluding Odunze, Chicago has taken 5 receivers in the first round. All 5 failed to crack 5,000 yards during their time with the organization. The top 2 names are Johnny Morris and Harlan Hill. They retired in the 60s. Kevin White was a bust. David Terrell was a bust, and they were both top 10 picks. So this is another area for the Chicago Bears that seems to be a struggle, and Rome Odunze is the guy. The track record for Odunze is a phenomenal athlete, a phenomenal player. He's already said he wants to leave the Bears organization in a better place than where he found it, if you will. So this is the opportunity. This is the guy that is supposedly the one that's going to bring about balance to the force, if you will, and turn this team. And by the way, we should acknowledge here that between Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, these are 2 positions that we've had very limited success. So it would be very, very interesting to see this team finally get it right a couple of times, and with that, we're going to close this out. The one thing that I want to say, though, is there appears to be a response from the Arlington Heights mayor, who has confirmed everything that we've said so far about the Arlington Heights move or the potential for that move. Today, they have sent a reply on the tax question for the Chicago Bears. And listen, here's the thing. In the event that they make it easy for the Chicago Bears, it is entirely possible that the Chicago Bears will absolutely bite a bullet and immediately say, yes, we are breaking ground in Arlington Heights. If the Bears get what they want out of this area, then it is probably going to be something that they want to break ground on immediately. They want to get started so that it's available in 2028. So I would venture to say that we are probably, no guarantees, but probably looking at the end of the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field in downtown Chicago. So it's certainly going to be interesting over the next couple of days as we get information trickling out on how these negotiations with Arlington Heights are going. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, the subscribe button if you like the content, and the bell to be notified. We go live at 10:30 a.m. every day. Some days we just don't have a whole lot of information. It seems like everything we can work through really quickly. But as we get into these mini camps, as we start to get closer to the launch of this season, we're going to have a lot to discuss and we're going to have a lot to cover. So thank you so much for tuning in. Bear down, fuck Green Bay, and we'll talk to you again